Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Rosehead podcast. Adam is back this week after missing out last week because got dropped to the bench. You see, we
Mm.
just wanted fresh face of George on. No, Adam had car. You had car issues, didn't you?
Yeah, my fuel cap wouldn't open, so I had to go get it sorted. So I couldn't drive anywhere, and I was just stuck in the
Using
garage.
excuses because he has to drive to his bedroom to do the podcast. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, this is actually in my car. This is all a massive green screen. Yeah.
It's a nice green screen,
Yeah.
mate. It's very niche.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, I don't know why you put Harry Potter's cupboard as your green screen, but yeah, fair enough. Right. But yeah, no, Adam's back this week. I'm back as always because I'm never not here. You know what I mean? Adam, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Football going well, work going well, so I can't really complain. Life's good at the moment. What about yourself?
Yeah, well, football is going well as well. Work's going well. Yeah, yeah. Norwich won 6-1 against
Saw the
Plymouth.
hat trick. That
Yeah,
was
ball has science
the
hat.
first one's definitely offside. I
No,
don't know
it's
what
not. It's not because it
he
comes off
looked
the
on.
defender because the defender plays him in.
Oh, does it? Because he
Yeah,
looked a
yeah.
mile off. I
He
just
obviously
saw the highlight.
if the defender didn't get a touch on the ball, he would. Yeah, he's offside.
Oh,
But
yeah,
it's not
yeah.
because the defender played him in.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, yeah.
So
Last goal was
yeah,
a good goal from him as well.
yeah, great count, great little build up versus the high press. Big
Yeah,
fan of it. And then yeah, and you beat Real Madrid last night. Finally,
that's what we do. Well,
finally.
we've now done it. Yeah, it was a weird game, but so we'll take it. We'll take it.
It
Top
was a
of
good
both.
game. I watched it last night. Thought thoroughly deserved to win as well.
Yeah, I think we dominated them. I think it could have been 3 or 4-0 if we really were at it, to be honest.
I mean, Kylian
So
Mbappe is on serious fraud watch, but
I almost feel sorry for him a little bit because I feel
I,
like he's getting
I
like,
fucking
but
don't
like
like
at the
him.
same time, he's just not performing. Like Conor Bradley just played like prime Cafu and just pocketed him, which was ridiculous. Um, and it just felt like anything he did just couldn't come off.
Yeah.
Same with Bellingham. Bellingham wasn't brilliant last night, I didn't think. But they obviously have a lot of injuries.
Yeah, that
But
is true. They are massively injury struck at the minute. There was no Rodrigo, no Vinicius.
Militao's missing at the back, like their right back, who they'd normally have and stuff like that. It's a bit all over the place.
Playing Valverde at right back was an interesting one. But yeah, we'll move on to. I think we'll go on to one of the bigger talking points. I think of recent weeks in Manchester City. They've been honking, haven't they?
It's weird. I don't. I was saying this. I was speaking to my mate the other day, and I said if because obviously they've lost now. What is it? 5 in a row and in a draw, isn't it? Or is it 4 in a row and a draw? I think it's 5 in a draw, isn't it?
No, I don't.
Uh,
I think it's
if
four in a draw.
if
Might be
and they've
five.
lost three, yeah, three Prem games, the Carabao Cup to Spurs, and then the Champions League, and then now drawing Champions League.
Yeah.
And I was saying to my mate, if they'd have just lost one of them two Prem games in 2 seasons under Liverpool, Klopp would have had two more titles. That's ridiculous to think they went from a stage of where they just didn't lose football games to now they've lost
They can't
five
buy
in a
a
row.
win.
Yeah, it's
Can't
like
buy a
I
win.
don't. It's Arsenal could say the same for the last couple of seasons, obviously with them, but it's you almost just think oh, they'll come out of it. Like everyone's still going, oh, they'll still win
No,
15 in January.
I think this
Still,
this runs this time it runs a
I
lot
think it's
different.
different. Yeah, I think it might actually be different, and it's sort of probably Pep nearly wanted to like top himself, which was ridiculous after the game, which didn't look great, scratching himself. It's just mental.
Yeah,
Um,
I think
it's,
he's a bit.
yeah,
I think
he's never been in this situation. That's
yeah,
what it
he's
is. He
not been
doesn't.
in a situation. He's in a bit of a panic mode at the minute.
Mm.
So
I
yeah,
think it's like because obviously Rodri being out injured is huge. Like that is a massive impact. But then his backup in Kovacic is injured, and then he's had a couple of centre backs injured as well. And like he's had to adapt the whole system a little bit to
and they
sort
didn't
of
really invest enough in the summer as well. I think we've definitely mentioned this in the podcast
yeah.
before. They just haven't invested enough.
Mm.
But I mean, for me, it's just the way how they're playing. They've got. I mean, we could say they haven't invested enough. The squad depth isn't there. It still is for Man City. The youth products they produce are unbelievable.
Mm.
Um, But I think the issue with what I'm finding with Man City is how they're playing at the minute. They look completely void of ideas. It's like they've been found out, and Pep
They look
hasn't
knackered.
plan B.
They do not
Yeah,
run.
they look
They look
exhausted.
knackered.
I mean, there was a short clip I saw this morning of De Bruyne. He's on the ball. He wants movement. No one's moving for him. The ball gets given away
Mm.
in the end, but just no one's moving for him. He can't. He's screaming at players like
Yeah.
everyone just seems void of ideas.
I think there's so many issues. Like I think Haaland has an XG of like 8 in the last couple of weeks, and he's only got 2 goals. And it's stuff like normally he'd, which is why he's coming out my fancy team as well. On a side note, but
Yeah, I don't think I can bring him out because I just feel like as soon as I bring him out, Adam, he's going to
he's
score
playing
again.
us at the weekend, so I'm confident he won't do anything. But the fact he's not scoring, they struggle to get goals from anywhere else. Like Foden's been a shadow of the player you even saw last season. It's he's sort of carried that Euros form into the season. De Bruyne's been constantly injured. Salvio looks like a good player. I think he's been
He's
decent.
not. He's not what they had on the
He's
wing.
not going to get you
He's
loads
not
of
like
goals and
Sterling,
assists.
Sane,
Yeah,
David Silva. Players they had on the wings that were just Mahrez that were unbelievable for them. That
it's
sort of
weird. It's
history is
like
gone.
they've been relying on Vardy. Scored a couple, and like people like that who shouldn't like.
And then
Gundogan's
Guardiola's
not
been
been
stinking
chipping in.
since. He's been,
Bernardo's not been like they've just not had goals.
Rodri's
They
been
left more
gone.
open in the middle. It's I think with them I sympathise with Pep a bit because I think people like or not. I'm glad Man City losing. It doesn't. I'm happy in a way, but like at the same time, it's like how I said they didn't buy much investment. I think they're sort of screwed either way because they either go out and buy 3 players for every position. And everyone's like, oh, they've got such a big squad. They've got all this money. Like, oh, they're just cheating again and again and again. Or they do what they've done in the summer. And yes, they should have bought another striker anyway because they've only got Haaland. But they don't buy enough. And now everyone's like, oh, they should have bought more. When have we ever told Man City to buy more? Like, it's weird. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not something
Yeah,
we've
not in the
said.
past 10 years, definitely not.
Yeah. And I think it's sort of unfair on them to blame that. I think it's just they've got so many things going wrong. The players are all like they've won 4 in a row. They're probably just burnt out. And they're probably just like, "Do you know what? I'd love a year off, but they just can't. And they just can't buy any luck at the moment, like with missing or whatever it is. And I think they're just none of them have been in the position since Pep's been there or any of them have been there of losing 5 in a row, let alone 2 in a row or 3 in a row. Like none of them have ever experienced that sort of like going into a game just like that 3 all from the other night. That should never happen. 10, 12 minutes
Yeah,
to
I
go.
think that. I mean, it's a draw,
Two
but it's
awful
a loss.
mistakes.
Yeah, I mean,
But
it's a loss. You're 3-0 up, home to
yeah,
Feyenoord. Don't get me wrong,
yeah, you
Feyenoord,
should.
decent team, some decent
Oh,
players.
but City are levels above. Yeah, you shouldn't
Exactly. And
be.
when City go 3-0 up at home to Feyenoord, that's the game done. That's
Mm,
done.
simple.
Um,
Yeah,
and
just
just
keep the ball. Do what they do every other game.
the
Yeah,
defending for all three of the goals.
yeah.
What is
Edison had a
going
header
on?
for 2 of them
Yeah.
coming out when he shouldn't have done. But
That equaliser for Feyenoord, Jesus Christ, was he?
yeah, and
How does he
they're the
think?
sort of games where
Why is he
like
even competing for that? He should.
I'm sure City are there just like, oh, we just nothing can go right. Do you know what I mean? They're like 3-0 up and they're probably all thinking, oh, finally, we've got that win. They're going into the Liverpool game with a little bit more confidence. They're probably already like it's never the easy place for them to go anyway, but it gives them a little bit of a boost. And now they've gone into it like, oh, we just can't win. Oh, now we've got Liverpool. Oh, they've just beaten Madrid.
Mm.
Oh, they can make 11 points. Do you know what I mean? They're just like, it's a lot more negatives. And Pep's just probably never been used to, he never really has to pick up his plays. Do you know what I feel like? Do you know what I mean? I feel like he's only got to motivate him. He's never had to be like, come on, like, let's show him what we're about. He's only got to be like, keep doing what you're doing because
No,
they've never been in this situation. So it's very strange. I was asking my mate, do you think they'd ever sack him? I know they're just giving him the contract, but do you think he's unsackable?
I think that conversation. I mean, if this form carries on, this conversation definitely does need to be had with Pep. But also, I don't think there's a reason to sack him because you also have to think like you give him this. I think you have to give him to at least end of the season. Um, and if things aren't
Yeah.
improving, like if something miraculous happens, like they don't get top four, he has to go.
He'd
Or
probably
go.
just step down. I think he'd be the sort of guy that would
Yeah, I
just
think
step down.
yeah, I can't see him getting sacked. Like you say, I
Yeah,
see him, taking off his own accord and thinking, look, I've achieved everything I can achieve here, which he has. I mean, the only
yeah,
thing left to achieve is invincibles. That's it.
but that's
The crazy
he's
thing to say. He's won everything. So what I don't.
4 in a row, 100 points. Yeah, not much
100
more he
points,
can
Premier
win.
League titles, Champions League, FA Cup, League Cups. Um,
Yeah, thing.
like
Oh
what
no,
more?
it's because like other managers, if you put, let's say you give Postecoglou the record of City 5 losses in a row, whatever, he'd be having question marks,
I think
100%.
every manager in the league will be having
Yeah.
questions. Even Arnie Slot, if he had 5 losses in a row,
Oh yeah, yeah,
you'd have question mark. Is this the right guy that bring it, to take us forward? Pep's
yeah,
legacy obviously does carry carry
Oh
weight
yeah, no, I'm
now.
not saying he should be sacked by any means. I just
No, but
sort of wondering like
it is a
at
valid
what point
conversation at
do
this point.
people
Like,
start
it's
to
like,
go like,
do you think he should be sacked, or like for me again, you give him to the end of the season if the form carries on, no top
mm,
four, no silverware. I think he has to. I think he has to go because I think then at that point, it's almost a case of Pep's taken him as far as he can, and he's taken him
mm.
further than any manager would have ever dreamed of. And I think a fresh face at City might be needed.
The thing is also whoever you get in's an obvious downgrade. Like I know it's stupid to say, but
That's the only thing as well. I think that's the thing.
it's
Pep is the
such a
best
drop.
manager in the
You're
world.
going from arguably the best manager in the world to
So
to
can
what?
you really afford to sack the best
Yeah.
manager in the world?
Yeah, that's the thing. No, it is interesting to just sort of to see like because I would say
Best
he's been
manager
sacked.
in the world, you don't expect five losses and a draw in your last
Yeah,
six. That's the
yeah,
thing.
exactly.
That's the another sort of dependable factor. But I mean, it's definitely going to be an interesting topic. I think we'll see how Man City play out for the rest of the season. I think we can
Yeah,
all see them sort of picking up form again. Whether it's
it's
against you lot, I don't think so. But if they do, but the thing is, if they do win against you, that for them is
oh yeah.
massive.
But the thing is, like we beat Man City, I think a couple of years ago when we were horrible and we scraped like fourth or like got Europa League when we still beat them at home. Like, so it's never really been a good place for them to go, regardless of form or anything. Like we've
Yeah.
still done well there. So yeah, should be good.
Yeah, no, exactly. Right. We'll move on. Obviously, we'll talk a bit about the league leaders, the Champions League leaders. Your club, Liverpool.
Love it.
Obviously, everything's going very, very well under Arnie Slot. I'm a big fan of Arnie Slot as well. I love this press conference yesterday. Is Ryan Gravenberch going to be the next Tony Cruz? No, he's not.
Yeah.
Much. So,
It just
what's any
walks off.
question? Yeah, and just walks off. I really like
No,
that.
I love him. He's so straight. I think he handles press conferences really well.
Yeah,
Like there's some managers like when you're listening to them talk, like there's a lot of like they don't know what they're talking about. I can understand this is second language, so there will be a little bit, but he explains everything so well. Like he'll just say it to the point, like, I dropped this player because of this, I did this because of this, this is what we did to stop this. And like he may not be the most like funny or that sort of personality, but he knows his football. Do you know what I mean? Like he knows his stuff.
yeah.
And I think that can easily get people behind him quite quickly.
Yeah, I think he's definitely bought into Liverpool, and Liverpool bought into him, the players, and everything. Everything seems to be ticking really well, and obviously a fantastic 2-0 win over Real Madrid. Like you say, it could have been more. Obviously, two missed penalties in that game, one from Salah, one from Mbappe.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, no, but again, obviously, despite Real Madrid's injuries, Liverpool were massively dominant throughout.
Mm.
I think there was only one clear favourite from watching that game. If you look at the stats, look at you know
Yeah, we dominated a lot of the game, really. I think to be
how the
fair,
game
sort of
went. And
Courtois made
players
some good
stepped up
saves.
for Liverpool, and you could tell like there's a team sort of believing in a philosophy, believing in a manager, believing in a star player that they're being told to produce, believing in the football club to a team that doesn't
Yeah,
at all. And Real Madrid just didn't just look void of belief and
yeah.
um,
I just loved
never.
our midfield yesterday. I think that's my favorite like Liverpool midfield I've seen for some years. It's just they're all like they're so like good on the ball, but they're just like they're so tight, just one touch passing, they can do everything. Like McAllister's not necessarily your classic box to box. He's not like a leggy midfielder, whereas Gravenberch is, but he's also got that flair, and he's shining like ridiculously bright at the moment, like shining bright. He's doing so well, um, and I think it's really good to see him come along, which is brilliant. I think Curtis Jones he's been showing his sauce off, which I love. He's been doing his
Yeah,
thing.
he's. I think in the last couple of years, he's massively improved, hasn't he? I mean, I think a lot of Liverpool fans probably wrote off Curtis Jones about a year and 2 years
He's so
ago.
hit like I think under Klopp it just didn't suit him, just the constant up and down.
Yeah,
Like Szoboszlai suited more of a Klopp system where it was just up and down running. Whereas maybe now Curtis Jones, like they enjoyed like the amount of triangle passing we saw and stuff was brilliant. Like, and I'm not saying like I've gone from midfields of Henderson, Wijnaldum, and Fabinho, which I loved at the time because it was all about the front three. And don't get me wrong, Wijnaldum was a very techie player as well. But now you've got three in there that like
yeah.
can all
Jordan
play that
weren't
pass.
exactly forgiving off the flair, was he?
Yeah, they all have that flair. They've all got that sort of like they can get the ball on the half turn. You've seen Gravenberch use his body so well all season, like, and it's just ridiculous how I think how much he stepped up Gravenberch. And that's just him. there's so many players that have just taken it to another level, um, which I think is just like it's really cool to see. I think Gakpo's taken it another level. Diaz, I said Jones, Gravenberch, even Konate, I think's gone up another level. I think he was
Arteta
always a really
looked
good
like a
defender.
monster last night. Yeah.
Yeah, him and
Right.
Van Dijk were just brilliant.
But obviously, there's a
Trent,
few contract issues with Liverpool at the minute, isn't there? Obviously, Salah
yeah,
is coming to the end of his
yeah.
contract, but he seems to like. I saw his interview. He wants to get it extended. It seems like. Um,
That's the way I take it. I can. I think Carragher was very. I don't know if you saw what he said about it, about saying like, oh, he's very selfish and stuff. Like to say it before Madrid and City come, and I was like, I can maybe see his point, but at the same time, if he wants to stay,
Let him
he's
voice.
got to make it clear.
He's got to
Like,
say it exactly. He wants to stay. He can't.
and he knows what he's doing. He's got all the fans on his side, which we know that he knew that. Like
I,
none of
I,
us Liverpool
I'm
fans
not.
wanted him.
But the thing is, I went off from a 5 year deal, just a couple, 2 years maybe.
2 years and then see where you're at and then you go from there. Because
Then it'd be just 1 year extensions every single
yeah,
time.
there's no point just giving him
You can't give him a
another.
5 year deal. No,
Give
not
him two. I think it's weird because you see so many rumors. One thing says he wants like three and we're offering two, or we're offering one and he wants three, and I don't know where it's at, but it's weird because for me, like I wouldn't have let him all get down to this situation. But we've had so many sporting directors over the last like 3 or 4 years. We've had like three or four sporting directors. So that's clearly an issue, which has caused this when no one's able to sit down and go,
and actually have
let's
that
sort the
conversation with
contract.
him.
Yeah. And like now you've got what, a month, give or take, a couple of days until they can start talking to other clubs. You're now starting to get a little bit desperate, I think.
Yeah, imagine
Um,
that. All of a sudden, he's announced he's going to fucking like Barcelona or some shit. See,
yeah, and that's the thing. I think
that's your best player in the last sort of decade.
yeah, he's said that him and Van Dijk want they all want to play at the top level. So Salah will not go to Saudi, neither will Van Dijk. Obviously, Trent would never go to Saudi anyway, but um,
Right, so Van Dijk's the other one at the end of his contract.
and Trent, all three of them,
Trenton.
all three of them up at the end of the year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I see your argument though with the sporting director issue. Obviously, you've got so many in such a short
Mm.
space of time. The actual opportunity to sit down and talk to players and
He's
iron out
trying to do everything
issues
else.
it's not
Yeah.
going to work. And obviously, Arnie Slot's come in. He needs to figure out what he wants in this team.
It's
Um,
not down to him though, is it really? That's the
no,
thing. I
but
think,
ultimately it is. If the sporting director comes up to him, should we should extend Salah's contract. He's like, no, I don't want Salah part of my project going forward. I would prefer not to.
you'd
Then
love
obviously,
to know, like, do you know, I saw
the thing
something
is,
that was,
the thing is, what I'm trying to say is, it's still a transition period for Liverpool. Arnie Slot's trying to figure out
oh,
his team and stuff like
yeah,
that. He's just come
yeah.
in, and now it's come out of the fact, okay, you've got three key players
Mm.
coming to the end of their contracts. They need extending, and I think all three of them will happily stay. And
Oh yeah, I think
I
they
think
all want to give
I
Liverpool the
think Trent needs
time.
a 5 year deal. If I'm honest, I
Yeah,
think
he will be. Yeah, he'll
Van
be a
Dijk
longer.
probably needs a 3
They'll
years.
both be 2 or 3 years, the other two, and I think
Yeah,
Trent will be five. With yeah,
but definitely need contracts because otherwise you're losing big players on just for free.
yeah, and I think it's just they obviously want to stay. I think they're all like happy to stay, if that makes sense. Um, it'd be weird if Slot didn't want them. Do you know what I mean? Like they're all world class players.
No,
Like
exactly. I agree. It'd be so
I'd
weird.
be I'd be very surprised if he didn't. Considering there's a stat this season that I think like Salah's like without Salah's goals and stuff in the Prem and assists, we'd be like 13th in the Prem or something stupid like that.
Yeah.
So you think, and he's on track to beat his record of when he broke the goal record before Haaland did it. So it's like he's playing better than he did 7 years ago. Because normal 32-year-olds, you go, you don't get like look what happened to Aubameyang. Remember at Arsenal when he was on whatever money, then they offered him a big contract, then he just fell off, didn't he? Um, so they were always a bit worried to do that with maybe Van Dijk and Salah because they're like, oh, well, they're 32, 33. If you give him 2 years, is he still going to be worth 350k a week at 35? Or, but then I saw another thing. Sorry, it was a guy who added up all the amounts of how much wages would cost, and I think it came to 45 million or something. So, do you think you could buy a player who's get you better stats than Mo Salah for 2 years for 45 million?
No.
No, simple. Same for Van Dijk, probably similar. Will he do as much of an impact, 45 million? Probably not. Then that should be a quick answer of going, yep, that's done. We need you for at least another 2 years. Let him retire here. Let him break all the records. If you want to still go Saudi in 2, 3 years, do your thing. But
Yeah.
for me, I'd be signing them all. And I think the only one that really does worry me is Trent. I think Trent's does scare me a little bit because
I don't see why he's
it
obviously
could
got
get
you
very
on a bread.
sour with him. That Madrid pull is massive, though. Do you know what I mean? I think Madrid is just
They are in need of a right back.
they need a right back. He can go out and play with Jude. He can just go and do his thing. He's won everything at Liverpool. I can see it. I can.
I feel like he wants to sort of like repeat Gerrard's legacy in terms of like staying.
I'd like to think that, and maybe I was probably a bit too young to remember, but when Gerrard nearly went to Chelsea, obviously had all the burning of the shirts and everything outside the front and stuff, which obviously it's different because he would never go to a Prem rival. Jesus, he wouldn't be that stupid, surely. But I think it could get very sour with Trent if
Yeah,
if he did, which would be not very nice. And I
he's
think
born and bred.
I don't want him to sign out of fear because you don't want him to stay just because he's scared, but I think he could sign out of the thought of, like they said, Michael Owen never feels comfortable coming back. He won a Ballon d'Or at Liverpool,
Yeah.
mainly because, okay, he played for United as well, but players like him aren't really treated very well when they come back. And like maybe that could be, he doesn't want that sort of. McManaman was the same. He went to Madrid, isn't really the same player. So I don't know. It's so difficult. Like it changes by the week. One week I'm there thinking all three are going to sign. Yeah, brilliant. The next week I'm like, oh, maybe none of them are going to sign actually. And then the next week I'm like, oh, these two. And I think Van Dijk's the most confident I am, and then Trent's the least confident if I had to choose. But Salah would be my first one to do because goals win you games. I think you can get like Conor Bradley showed his quality at right back. Not saying he's better than Trent, but you can do a
Uh,
job.
yeah, that's I think that's the other thing. I think with Van Dijk you haven't got a replacement already.
Yeah,
With Salah you haven't got a replacement already. But with Trent, I think there is
you
none.
do.
There you do.
You could put Gomez in there. You could put Bradley in there. They're different
Well, no,
sort of players.
that's Joe Gomez. We're not talking Joe Gomez, right? Conor Bradley, yeah.
They
Um,
can do a job. Yeah,
yeah, Conor Bradley is especially after the performance I saw last night. I was massively impressed, and
that's
think
his first Champions League game as well. I think Conor Bradley.
yeah, it was absolutely fantastic.
No, I think it's just that's why I think Slot's done really well in the press conferences because you always get questions about them as well, and he has no control over it. Like
Yeah.
he's not there talking about the negotiations. I'm sure he's gone. I'd like them all to stay, or I'd like them to go, whatever it is.
Well, the thing is, it'd be stupid to not to. Yeah, I'd like my three best players to stay. Of
Yeah,
course you
and
would.
that's the thing. Like if he didn't want Salah to be there, he wouldn't play him 90 minutes every game.
Yeah, same
Do you
with
know what
Van Dijk, and same with when
I mean?
Trent wasn't injured.
I don't. Yeah, Trent was playing every single minute all the time, and pretty much apart from this early at the start, he wouldn't do that. I don't think if he was trying to get, for example, if he wanted Salah out and was trying to like implement a Jota or someone, maybe I know he's been injured, but he'd maybe like adapt the system and try and get him in and drop him a bit more. But he's not. So for me, he wants all three
Hmm.
because any manager in world football would want them to play for their team. I'm sorry, like well, Liverpool bias aside, if you don't want them in your team, I don't think you know football, if I'm honest. Um, so I don't know. It's just it's always in the back of your mind. Like you have a win and you're like, oh, but he might not be here next season. Like, like it's just sort of
Well, welcome
you're
to the
always
life
just
of a Norwich fan, Adam. Because
you
every
can't deal
we
with
have,
like I lost Klopp last year. I lost Firmino the year before. If I lose all them three in a year, I can't. I don't know how I can
really
carry on.
yourself, mate. I've gone through losing Madison, Buendia,
Oh yeah,
Dara, Pookie. I'm not going to lose Science at the end of this season.
we're gonna lose. Yeah, science will be next. Yeah,
That's the thing. But that's the life. Like I know that very much so that like if we have a good player in the championship and he is unbelievable, I've got
mm,
one season of him.
yeah. That's the thing. You've
I
got a
have one
couple
season
seasons.
of that.
Yeah,
Gabriel
yeah,
Sara, we all knew like he was unbelievable last season, but we knew we're not going up. We ain't keeping him. Just not.
yeah.
So he's destined for better things. Whereas
That's
if
the thing where I look at the Liverpool players, they're the best team, arguably we're the best team in the world right now, no? Like you could argue it. Maybe I don't know if we are or not, but there's
yeah,
not many
potentially. I think there's not enough good performers. I think
we're
Bayern Munich
top of
aren't as
both.
good.
Yeah.
Real Madrid aren't as good. Barcelona aren't as good.
Obviously, you're going to go PSG like and try and do it with them just from it. Like, do you know what I mean? I don't know. They don't need them at Barca. They got Lamine Yamal. Like, do you know what I mean? They definitely don't need him at Real Madrid. God, you don't need another winger in there. That's going to cause chaos.
Andrew
Like,
just signed Southampton permanently at that point.
yeah, it's
And then you can
so
sign him because all Southampton players come to you. So
yeah. There you go. Yeah, swap deal.
there's your Salah replacement.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's all very weird. It's one of those things I just want done sooner rather than later. Like I really do. I think as soon as it comes to January, I'm not saying 1st of January, Salah's going to be there announced and he's off to Barca, but I think you're then put in a position of where you either have to sell them in January. Someone could come in and be like, "We'll offer you 40 mil for Salah," and then you're like, "Oh, do we take 40 mil now or nothing in the summer?" Or do you like? So you
That's the
that
thing.
puts you in a very awkward
Because obviously
position as a
that
team.
money's very good. I think it's too good to turn down if he's
And
definitely not going to sign
yeah,
a
and
contract.
in the position you're in the league, it could be by that point 10, how many points clear, a real chance at a Premier League title. Do you risk selling arguably the best player in the league this season just because you're going to lose? Like, do you know what I mean? It adds so many more issues that
There's a lot of
players
question
just
marks.
don't need. Like, and I'm sure it's a very awkward position for the other players as well. Like Robertson gets asked about it and stuff.
Yeah, that's the
Of
worst thing when they get asked, "Oh, would you like your mate to stay?" Yeah, I'd love my
course,
mate
he
to
wants him to
stay
stay, but it's not
with
down to him.
me.
Yeah, he has no say in it whatsoever. I'm sure he doesn't walk in and go,
It's
"Oh,
very
he's staying."
lazy journalism that I hate that from
Yeah,
reporters. But anyway, we will wrap up the podcast there. Norwich back on form, Liverpool still flying. The international break is well and truly over.
cool.
And Borja Science will win the Ballon d'Or in 5 years' time. Thank you very much.